Good day, future educators. Welcome to this review session on the philosophy of man, where we will analyze multiple choice exam items, discuss the rationale behind each correct answer, and reinforce key philosophical concepts. Understanding these questions will not only help you in your upcoming test, but also in developing critical thinking skills and that are essential for teaching and for upcoming board exam. Now let's dive into the item analysis. For question number 1, what is the literal meaning of the word philosophy based on its Greek origins? A. Search for knowledge. B. Wisdom of the ages. C. Love of wisdom. Or D. Understanding of existence. Now, the correct answer is letter C, love of wisdom. Why? Because the term philosophy comes from the Greek word philo, meaning love, and sophia means wisdom. So, if we combine it, love of wisdom. Okay, so philosopher seeks knowledge and truth through reasoning and critical inquiry. Now, let's proceed to number 2. Which of the following statements best describes philosophical inquiry? A. It relies solely on scientific experimentation. B. It provides absolute answers to all questions. C. It examines fundamental truths through reasoned argumentation. Or D. It is limited to the study of ancient texts. Now, the correct answer for this one is letter C. It examines fundamental truths and through reasoned argumentation. Now, it is because philosophy engages in deep questioning and logical reasoning to explore fundamental truths about existence, knowledge, and ethics. Unlike empirical sciences, it does not rely solely on experimentation. Okay, now let's proceed to number 3. Which philosopher is known for the statement cogito ergo sum? I think, therefore I am. A. Aristotle, B. Plato, C. René Descartes, or D. Immanuel Kant. Now, the correct answer is letter C. It's René Descartes. So, it is because that this statement by Descartes serves as the foundation of modern rationalism. It highlights the idea that thinking proves one's own existence. Now let's move to number 4. A teacher encourages students to question their assumptions and justify their beliefs through dialogue. Which method of philosophical inquiry is being applied? A. Logical reasoning. B. Dialectical method. C. Empirical method. Or D. Phenomenological approach. Now, the correct answer is letter B. Dialectical method. It is because that the dialectical method used by Socrates involves questioning and discussion to uncover deeper truths and challenge existing beliefs. Now, for number 5, we have a student struggles with a moral dilemma, whether to report a friend or who cheated on an exam. Now, if applying Kant's moral philosophy, what should the student do? A. Report the friend because moral duty requires honesty. B. Remain silent because friendship is more important than rules. C. Let the teacher decide since authority determines morality. Or D. Do nothing because there is no absolute right or wrong. Now, the correct answer for this is letter A. Report the friend because moral duty requires honesty. Now, for the explanation, Kantian's ethics is based on duty and moral laws, or what we call categorical imperative. Lying or allowing dishonesty contradicts this principle. Now let's move on number 6. Which philosophical branch focuses on distinguishing right from wrong? A. Epistemology, B. Metaphysics, or C. Ethics, D. Aesthetics. Now, the correct answer for this is letter C. Ethics. It is because that ethics is the branch of philosophy concerned with morality, studying principles of right and wrong behavior. Now, let's move on. Number 7. The principle of Socrates or Socratic method is best demonstrated when a teacher A gives a lecture explaining complex topics in detail, B encourages students to answer multiple choice questions, C engages students in questioning and critical discussions, or D asks students to memorize philosophical concepts. Now, the correct answer for this is letter C. Engages students in questioning and critical discussions because the Socratic method involves asking open ended questions to stimulate critical thinking rather than passive memorization. Okay, let's proceed to number 8. A lawyer argues that a law should be followed because it aligns with the concept of justice. Which branch of philosophy is involved? A. Logic, B. Political philosophy, C. Aesthetics, or D. Epistemology? The answer is B. Political philosophy. It is because that political philosophy examines concepts like justice, authority, and law in the context of governance and society. Now let's proceed to number 9. If a philosopher claims that reality is ultimately made of ideas rather than physical objects, which philosophical perspective does this represent? A. Empiricism, B. Materialism, C. Idealism, or D. Existentialism? Now, the correct answer is letter C. Idealism. It is because that idealism posits that reality is fundamentally mental or spiritual, contrasting with materialism, which asserts that reality consists of physical matter. Okay, let's proceed to number 10. A researcher studying the ethical implications of artificial intelligence decides to use phenomenology to understand human experiences with AI. Now, what would be the primary focus of their study? A. Analyzing AI's physical components. B. Investigating the economic impact of AI. C. Understanding people's lived experiences with AI. Or D. Measuring AI's computational efficiency. Now, the correct answer is letter C, understanding people's lived experiences with AI. It is because that phenomenology is a philosophical approach that studies human experiences and consciousness, making it ideal for exploring subjective interactions with AI. Now, let's proceed to number 11. According to Immanuel Kant, what makes humans distinct from animals? A. Ability to feel emotions. B. Intrinsic worth and rationality. C. Biological complexity. Or D. Dependence on social structures. Now, the correct answer is letter B. Intrinsic worth and rationality. It is because that Kant argued that humans possess rationality and intrinsic moral worth, which sets them apart from animals that act based on instinct. Let's proceed to number 12. The self is shaped by culture, experiences, and social interactions. These statements aligns with the theory of A. Descartes' rationalism, B. Med's looking glass self, C. Kant's categorical imperative, or D. Locke's empiricism? Now, the correct answer for this is letter B. Med's looking glass self. It is because that Med's theory emphasizes how individuals develop self-concepts based on social interactions and the perceptions of others. Now let's proceed to number 13. Which of the following best describes existentialism? A. Humans are born with a predetermined purpose. B. The self is shaped solely by society. C. Individuals define their own meaning in life. Or D. Morality is determined by religious laws. Now, the correct answer for this is letter C. Individuals define their own meaning in life. Now, existentialism posits that people create their own purpose and meaning rather than adhering to predefined roles or doctrines. Like, for example, in letter D, it is incorrect. Letter B, it is also incorrect because it is defined roles by the society. And letter A is also incorrect. Now, let's proceed to number 14. A high school student struggles to decide between taking a course in medicine or pursuing their passion in music. According to existentialist thought, what should they consider? A. What will bring the highest financial reward? B. What their parents expect from them? C. What aligns with their personal freedom and authenticity? Or D. What most people in their society choose? The correct answer is letter C. What aligns with their personal freedom and authenticity. Because existentialism emphasizes making choices based on individual authenticity and personal meaning rather than societal expectations. Now let's move to number 15. A teacher emphasizes student autonomy by allowing them to choose how they demonstrate learning. This approach aligns with A. Aristotle's virtue ethics, B. Kant's autonomy of self, C. Confucian moral philosophy, or D. Descartes' dualism. Now, the correct answer is letter B. Kant's autonomy to the self. It is because that Kant believed that rational beings should exercise autonomy in moral decision making, which aligns with empowering students in their learning choices. Now, for number 16, a young professional chooses to work in a low paying job because it aligns with their personal values. Which philosophical concept does this exemplify? A. Determinism. B. Authenticity. C. Hedonism, or D. Empiricism. Now, the correct answer for this is letter B. Authenticity. It is because that authenticity in existentialist philosophy means living in accordance with one's true beliefs and values rather than external pressures. Now let's proceed to number 17. In a debate, one student argues that moral values are objective and should apply to everyone, while another student claims that morality depends on personal or cultural beliefs. What philosophical debate is being demonstrated? A. Rationalism versus empiricism. B. Idealism versus materialism. C. Universalism versus relativism. Or D. Dualism versus monism. Now, the correct answer is letter C. Universalism versus relativism, because it asserts that moral principles are absolute. That's for universalism. While for relativism, it holds that morality is influenced by cultural and personal perspectives. Now, for number 18. A person refuses to take a high paying job that contradicts their moral principles. Which of the following philosophers would most likely support this decision? A. Thomas Hobbes, B. John Paul Sartre, C. John Locke, or D. Friedrich Nietzsche? The correct answer is letter B. John Paul Sartre. It is because that Sartre's existentialism stresses living authentically and making choices based on one's own values rather than societal pressures. Okay, let's proceed to number 19. If a philosopher argues that a person's identity is never fixed, but is constantly evolving through life experiences, which statement best challenges the view? A personal A. People have an innate and unchanging nature from birth. B. Identity is shaped only by genetics, not by experiences. C. Cultural influences do not affect self identity. Or D. Identity is determined only by economic conditions. Now, the correct answer is letter A. People have an innate and unchanging nature from birth because this contradicts the idea that identity is fluid, suggesting instead that individuals possess a fixed essence from birth. Now, let's move to number 20. A teacher encourages students to reflect on their personal experiences and how these influence their beliefs and choices. Which philosophy is being applied? A. Phenomenology, B. Empiricism, C. Determinism, or D. Structuralism. Now, the correct answer is letter A. It's phenomenology. It's because that phenomenology studies humans' experiences and consciousness, focusing on personal reflections and interpretations. 21. Socrates is known for his famous dictum, "The unexamined life is not worth living." What does this statement emphasize? A. That life is meaningless if one does not experience pleasure and material success. B. That people should focus on accumulating wealth to live a meaningful life. C. That critical self reflection is essential to achieving wisdom and understanding one's purpose. Or D. That human life is predetermined and self examination is unnecessary. Now, the correct answer is letter C. The critical self reflection is essential to achieving wisdom and understanding one's purpose. 22. In Plato's Republic, he introduced the concept of tripartite soul. According to this theory, which of the following best describes the three parts of the soul? A. The appetitive, rational, and spirited aspects, which must be in harmony for a just person and society. B. The logical, physical, and emotional aspects, which dictate an individual's personality and intelligence. C. The conscious, unconscious, and subconscious minds, which influence human decisions. Or D. The soul's earthly, divine, and metaphysical dimensions, which determine a person's destiny. Now, the answer is letter A. The appetitive, rational, and spirited aspects which must be in harmony for a just person and society. It's because that Plato's tripartite soul consists of rational soul, which is reason and wisdom, spirited soul, which is the courage and emotions, appetitive soul, which are the desires and instincts. For an individual or society to be just, these three elements must be in balance, with reason guiding the other aspects. Now, let's proceed to number 23. Aristotle's concept of eudaimonia is often translated as happiness or flourishing. Which of the following best explains Aristotle's view of how one can achieve eudaimonia? Now, A. By acquiring material wealth and social prestige, as these lead to a fulfilling life. B. By practicing virtue and rationality, as these help individuals achieve their highest potential. C. By living a life of pleasure and avoiding pain, since happiness is the ultimate goal. Or D. By following religious doctrines strictly, as they provide the foundation for moral life. Now, the correct answer is letter B. By practicing virtue and rationality, because these helps us as these help individuals achieve their highest potential, because Aristotle argued that true happiness, which we call eudaimonia, is achieved through virtue and rationality rather than wealth or pleasure, because a flourishing life, according to Aristotle, is one in which an individual fulfills their purpose by cultivating virtues like wisdom, courage, and temperance. Now let's proceed to number 24. A teacher is leading a class discussion about justice and morality. Using Plato's philosophy, which approach would be most aligned with Plato's beliefs? A. Encouraging students to follow their instincts in making ethical decisions without questioning them. B. Teaching students that morality is based solely on social norms and legal systems. C. Guiding students to discover the truth through dialectical reasoning and logical discussions. Or D. Advising students to rely only on sensory experiences when forming ethical judgments. Now, the correct answer for this is letter C. Guiding students to discover truth through dialectical reasoning and logical discussion. It's because that Plato advocated for the dialectical method in which students engage in rational discussions to uncover deeper truths rather than accepting information at face value. Now, for number 25. If a modern educator were to adopt Socratic teaching methods in their classroom, which of the following practices would best reflect Socratic pedagogy? A. A. Delivering lengthy lectures without interaction to ensure students absorb knowledge and encouraging rote memorization of philosophical doctrines with minimal discussions. C. Engaging students in critical questioning, prompting them to examine their own beliefs. Or D. Relying on standardized tests to measure philosophical understanding. Now, the correct answer for this one is letter C. Engaging students in critical questioning, prompting them to examine their own beliefs. Now, it is because the Socratic teaching emphasizes critical thinking through inquiry, requiring students to analyze their assumptions and construct knowledge through discussion. Next, we have number 26. A student witnesses a classmate cheating during an exam. Based on Socratic philosophy, what is the best response? A. Stay silent and reflect on whether it is your place to interfere in another person's moral choices, as true wisdom comes from personal realization. B. Report the the cheating to the teacher since allowing dishonesty to persist contradict the pursuit of truth and moral excellence? Or C. Engage the classmate in a discussion after exam using critical questioning to help them realize why cheating is wrong? D. Warn the classmate during the exam that cheating could have consequences. Now, the correct answer for this is letter B. Report the cheating to the teacher since allowing dishonesty to persist contradicts the pursuit of truth and moral excellence. It is because that Socrates emphasized moral responsibility and the pursuit of truth, allowing dishonesty to continue contradict ethical integrity. Now, number 27. A newly established government wants to align its leadership structure with Plato's concept of the philosopher's king. Which of the following decisions best reflects this ideal? The correct answer is letter C. Potential rulers should undergo extensive training in philosophy and ethics before being trusted with governing decisions. It is because that potential rulers should undergo extensive training in philosophy and ethics before being trusted with governing decision. It's because that Plato's philosopher king is a leader who governs with wisdom and virtue rather than personal ambition. Now let's proceed with number 28. A teacher wants to apply Aristotle's golden mean in handling classroom discipline. Which of the following best demonstrate this principle? A. Enforcing strict policies consistently, ensuring students clearly understand rules. B. Providing students with flexibility, allowing them to navigate learning freely. C. Balancing discipline and understanding, maintaining expectations while adjusting responses based on fairness. Or D. Focusing on positive reinforcement, avoiding strict punishments. Now, the correct answer for this is letter C. Balancing discipline and understanding, maintaining expectations while adjusting response based on fairness. It's because that the golden mean suggests moderation between extremes, neither being too strict nor too lenient. Number 29. A student claims that happiness is simply a matter of pleasure and avoiding pain. If you were to challenge this claim using Aristotle's concept of eudaimonia, which argument would best refute it? The answer is letter B. Pleasure alone is not enough for true happiness. Rather than it is the practice of virtues that leads to a meaningful and fulfilled life. It's because that Aristotle viewed happiness as a result of virtuous living, not just pleasure. Okay, number 30. A teacher is designing a curriculum based on Aristotle's concept of ethics. What would be the most appropriate way to structure learning activities? B. A. Using memorization techniques to help students recall moral principles from different philosophers. B. Providing experiential learning opportunities where students practice virtues in real life scenarios. C. Encouraging students to focus on religious teachings to understand morality. Or D. Assessing students' knowledge of ethics only through written exams rather than real world applications. Now, the correct answer is letter B, providing experiential learning opportunities where students practice virtues in real life scenarios. It's because that Aristotle emphasized learning ethics through practice, not memorization. Now let's proceed in number 31. In Buddhism, the concept of anatta or no to self suggests that A. The self is an illusion and does not have a permanent, unchanging essence. B. The soul exists eternally and reincarnates in different forms. C. The self is defined by physical attributes and cannot change over time. Or D. One must seek material success to discover their true identity. Now, the answer is A. The self is an illusion and does not have a permanent, unchanging essence. It's because that the Buddhist concept of anatta, no self, teaches that there is no permanent, unchanging essence in a person. Unlike the belief in an eternal soul, Buddhism views that the self is a collection of unchanging experiences, emotions, and consciousness. This challenges the idea of a fixed identity and encourages detachment from ego based thinking. Now let's proceed to number 32. Taoism, as taught by Laozi, emphasizes Wu Wei, which means the correct answer is letter C. Effortless action and living in harmony with natural flow of the universe. It's because Wu Wei in Taoism refers to acting effortlessly without force and in harmony with nature instead of struggling against the flow of life. One should align with the natural order and trust that things would unfold as they should. Number 33. According to Buddhist teachings, what is the main cause of human suffering or dukkha? A. The presence of evil forces that interfere with human happiness. B. The attachment and craving for material and worldly pressures. C. The lack of religious devotion and prayers. Or D. The inability to achieve wealth and status in society. The answer is B. The attachment and craving for material and worldly pleasures. It's because Buddhism identifies tanha, or craving or attachment, as the root cause of suffering. Desire for wealth, pleasure, and powerful leads to dissatisfaction and fame, pain. The path to liberation is through detachments and mindfulness. Number 34. A student who follows Taoist principle is struggling with academic stress and societal expectations. Based on Taoist philosophy, which advice would best align with the teachings of Lao Tzu? The answer is letter B. Let go of rigid expectations, trust the natural course of events, and find balance because Taoism teaches that forcing things is only leads to resistance and imbalance. Instead of stressing over rigid expectations, no one should embrace the flow of Tao and find peace in adapting naturally. Number 35. In a discussion about Eastern and Western views on self identity, a student claims that the Western concept of self is more focused on individuality, whereas the Eastern concept emphasizes interconnectedness. Based on this claim, which of the following statement best supports Eastern perspective? A. The individual self exists independently and personal success is the highest goal. B. The self is an illusion and person's identity is shaped by their relationship with the world. C. The self is defined by one's profession and societal role rather than personal reflection. Or D. A person's identity is static and unchanging from birth to death. Now the answer is letter B. The self is an illusion, and a person's identity is shaped by their relationship with the world. It's because that in Eastern philosophies, Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, emphasize interconnectedness, that the idea one's identity is fluid and relational, shaped by family, society, and the universe. Now, we have number 36. A person seeks lasting happiness by detaching from material possessions and practicing mindfulness in daily life. According to Buddhism, what is the most essential reason for this practice? A. It allows one to reach nirvana, the ultimate state of enlightenment beyond suffering. B. It helps individuals gain social respect and admiration for their simplicity and wisdom. C. It helps create a balance between desire and contentment, ensuring a stable, fulfilling life. Or D. It ensures that one follows traditions of Buddhist teachings without deviation. Now, the correct answer is letter A because detachment and mindfulness helps individuals escape the cycle of suffering, which we call samsara, and attain nirvana, a state of peace beyond desire and attachment. Number 37. A leader wants to govern by the following principles of Taoism. Which of the following best aligns with the Taoist philosophy on leadership? A. Encouraging people to act freely, believing that too many rules disrupt natural harmony. B. Using strict discipline, ensuring that everyone follows an orderly and structured way of life. C. Setting ambitious goals for progress, pushing society toward rapid development and innovation. Or D. Leading by example without interference, allowing people to grow naturally in their own way. Now, the correct answer is letter D. Leading by example without interference, allowing people to grow naturally in their own way. It's because the Taoist leadership follows non interference or Wu Wei, allowing things to unfold naturally while providing guidance through personal example. Let's proceed to number 38. A teacher wants to incorporate Buddhist philosophy into a character education program. Which of the following strategies would best align with Buddhist ethical teachings? A. Encourages students to embrace mindfulness, selfness, and detachment from unnecessary desires. B. Teaching students that individual desires should be pursued at all costs to achieve happiness. C. Focusing on strict punishment as a means to teach discipline and moral behavior, or D. Emphasizing material success and competition as the ultimate goals of education. Now, the correct answer is letter A, encouraging students to embrace mindfulness, selflessness, and detachment from unnecessary desires is because that Buddhist ethics focus on mindfulness, compassion, and detachment from materialism to cultivate moral character. Now, let's proceed to number 40. Which ethical theory emphasizes that morality of an action is determined by its consequences, specifically focusing on maximizing overall happiness? A. Deontology, because it prioritizes moral duties regardless of outcomes. B. Virtue ethics, since it highlights the character of the person rather than the consequences. C. Utilitarianism, as it argues that an action is morally right if it brings the greatest good to the greatest number. Or D. Existentialism, which asserts that individuals must define their own ethical principles based on personal experiences. Now, the correct answer is letter C, utilitarianism, as it argues that an action is morally right if it brings the greatest good to the greatest number. It is because that utilitarianism, developed by Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill, focuses on maximizing overall well being as the basis for morality. Let's proceed to number 41. According to Kant's deontological ethics, which of the following actions aligns with the concept of the categorical imperative? The correct answer is letter B. A teacher enforces class rules fairly, believing that all individuals should follow universal moral laws. Is because that Kant's categorical imperative states that actions should be guided by universal moral principles applicable to all people in situations. This means that moral duties must be upheld regardless of consequences. Enforcing fair class rules reflects this principle as it treats all students equally and upholds a duty based ethical approach. Number 42. Nietzsche's concept of master morality values which of the following traits the most? A. Compassion, humility, and self-sacrifice as they define a morally good person. B. Strength, ambition, and self-assertion which allow individuals to rise above societal norms. C. Social harmony with rule following and cooperation as the foundation of moral society. Or D. Duty and obligation to others ensuring fairness and ethical responsibility. Now the correct answer is letter B because Friedrich Nietzsche master morality emphasizes power, independence, and self overcoming. Number 43. In a school setting, how would a teacher apply virtue ethics handle case of academic dishonesty? A. By assigning the students of a failing grade as a strict consequence for violating rules. B. By considering the consequences of punishment and determining whether leniency would be beneficial by mentoring the student to develop integrity and responsibility rather than simply punishing them. Or D. Applying the standard school policy that ensures consistency in academic discipline. The correct answer is letter C. By mentoring the student to develop integrity and responsibility rather than simply punishing them because virtue ethics, as advocated by Aristotle, focuses on moral character development rather than rigid rules or consequences. A virtue ethics approach would prioritize teaching the student honesty and integrity rather than imposing punishment alone. Number 44. What is the key difference between Kant's deontological ethics and utilitarianism? The correct answer is letter B, Kantian ethics. Because deontology focuses on moral duty and universal rules, while utilitarianism assesses morality of action based on consequences. Kantian prioritizes principles whereas utilitarianism seeks greatest good for the greatest number. Number 45. A student argues that morality is subjective and depends entirely on personal beliefs rather than universal principles. Which of the following perspectives aligns most closely with this view? The correct answer is letter B. It's because that ethical relativism suggests that moral principles are not absolute but vary on cultural, societal, or personal beliefs. This opposes moral absolutism, which maintains that certain ethical truths apply universally. 46. Which of the following best explains Nietzsche's criticism of traditional moral values? The correct answer is letter A. It's because that Nietzsche criticizes traditional moral values for promoting herd mentality, suppressing strong independent individuals who seek self actualization. He advocates for creating one's own values rather than adhering to societal norms. Next, we have number 47. How does Kant's principle of treating people as ends rather than means applying in classroom setting? The correct answer is letter C. A teacher respects students' autonomy by encouraging independent thinking and self-expression. Kantian ethics emphasize that inherent dignity of individuals. Treating students as ends means valuing their intellectual and moral autonomy rather than seeing them as mere recipients of information or means of an educational system success. Number 48. In virtue ethics, why is moral education essential? The correct answer is letter A. Because virtues are not innate but developed through practice and oral habituation. It is because that, according to Aristotle, virtues develop through habitual practice. Moral education is crucial because it helps individuals cultivate good character traits through repeated ethical actions. Number 49. Which philosophical perspectives argues that all knowledge is derived from sensory experience? The correct answer is letter letter B, empiricism. It's because that empiricism championed by philosophers by like John Locke, David Hume asserts that knowledge comes from experiences, contrasting with rationalism, which emphasizes reason. Next is 50. Which of the following best scen- which of the following scenarios best represents an empiricist approach to learning? A math teacher explains concepts through logical reasoning rather than real-world applications. B. A history teacher encourages students to memorize key dates without analyzing historical events. C. A science teacher conducts hands-on experience so students can observe and learn through experience. Or D. A philosophy professor insists that knowledge is purely a product of rational thought. Now the correct answer is letter letter C. It's because that empiricism values experiential learning, meaning knowledge is acquired through direct observation and interaction with the world. Hands-on science experiments embody this philosophy. Number 51. According to rational philosopher like Descartes, how do humans acquire knowledge? The correct answer is letter correct. It's letter B, through logical deduction and reasoning independent of sensory experience. It's because that rationalism argues that the reason argues that reason rather than experience is the main source of knowledge. Descartes' famous phrase cogito ergo sum, I think before I am, highlights the primary primacy of thought. 52. A teacher encourages students to question sources of information and verify facts before accepting them as true. This approach aligns with most closely with which epistemological theory? The correct answer is letter A, skepticism, as it emphasizes doubt, critical inquiry in the pursuit of knowledge. Now, skepticism questions the certainty of knowledge, advocating for rigorous inquiry and evidence based conclusions rather than blind acceptance of information. Let's proceed to number 53. In epistemology, what is the main critic of empiricism? The correct answer is letter B. It does not account for mathematical and logical knowledge which do not rely on sensory experience. It is because that critics argue that empiricism fails to explain the abstract knowledge like mathematics and logic, which rely on innate reasoning rather than sensory experience. Let's move to number 54. Which of the following statements reflects a rationalist view of knowledge? The correct answer is letter B. Mathematical truths exist independently of human experience. It is because that rationalists believe in innate ideas and universal truth, such as mathematics, that exist independently of sensory perception. Number 55. A student insists that it is impossible to have absolute certainty without anything because human perception is flawed. This perspective is most aligned with the correct answer is letter C, skepticism. It is because that skepticism questions about knowledge, absolute knowledge, arguing that human senses and reasoning are prone to error. Number 56. Now, why do skeptics argue that knowledge is uncertain? The correct answer is letter B. Because human senses and reasoning can be flawed, making certainty difficult to achieve. Now, skeptics believe again that perception is unreliable, making it impossible to achieve complete certainty in knowledge. Number 57. How does epistemology influence modern education? The correct answer is letter B. It promotes open ended inquiry and diverse perspectives in learning. Now, epistemology encourages critical thinking, inquiry based learning, and a variety of perspectives in education. Number 58. In existentialist philosophy, what is considered the primary source of meaning in life? The correct answer is letter letter C, personal experiences and how individuals interpret them. Number 59. According to Aristotle, why are humans considered as sorry, a zoon politikon? It's because they are the correct answer is up there because they are naturally from communities and governments for the common good. Because existentialist philosophy encourages personal meaning making rather than relying fixed truths. By allowing students to explore their own interpretations, the teacher fosters individuality and critical thinking, key aspects of existentialist. Number 60. Which of what teacher encourage Number 61. A class A classroom teacher notices a student struggling with personal problems and takes time to mentor them without expecting anything in return. What kind of love is being demonstrated? The correct answer is B. Agape. Agape is selfless, unconditional love that expects nothing in return. In a teaching setting, this reflects that genuine care teachers have for students beyond the academic. This love is not merely emotional or eros, friendship based, philia, or familial or storage, but rather a deep commitment of to the well-being of others, which is agape. Number 62. Which of the following best describes a practical application of Rose's concept of the general will in school setting? The correct answer is letter C. A class voting on a project theme to ensure majority participation and agreement. It is because that Rose's concept general will emphasizes collective decision making that aligns with the common good. By allowing students to vote on project theme, the teacher ensures that everyone has a voice while maintaining order and participation in the classroom. Number 63. A teacher uses literature or to discuss different types of love. Which of the following classroom activities best illustrates the concept of eros? The correct answer is letter A. It's because eros refers to romantic and passionate love. Shakespeare Romeo and Juliet is a prime example of impulsive romantic love, making it best illustration of eros in literature. Number 64. A student council election is conducted in a fair and transparent manner, allowing students to choose their leaders based on merit. Which philosophers' ideas on governance does this scenario best reflect? The correct answer is letter C. Jean-Jacques Rousseau. It's because Rousseau's philosophy advocates for democratic participation, reflecting the idea that good governance should be fair, transparent, and based on collective agreement, much like a student council election. Number 65. A school without rules and structure may lead to disorder. According to Thomas Hobbes, what would be life like without government? The correct answer is letter C, nasty, brutish, and short. It's because Hobbes believed that without governance, society would fall into chaos. A school without rules and structure mirrors his view that human life without order would be disorderly, dangerous. Number 66. According to John Paul Sartre, which statement best describes his existentialist view of freedom? The correct answer is letter B. Individuals are condemned to be free and must take full responsibility for their choices. It's because that Sartre emphasizes radical freedom and personality responsibility. Students and teachers alike must recognize their choices and be accountable for their actions. Number 67. A student influenced past failures leading a lack of confidence in academic tests. Psychological determinism suggests that past experiences shape future behaviors. If student failures impact their confidence, they are exhibiting determinism in action. Number 68. A high school student, despite financial struggles, works hard to apply for scholarship and improve academically. This scenario best illustrates which perspectives on freedom. Now, the correct answer there, existentialism. It's because that the student's effort to improve despite financial struggles aligns with existentialism's idea that individuals create their own meaning and are responsible for shaping their futures. Number 69. Which of the following statements aligns with the concept of biological determinism? The correct answer is A. A student's performance in mathematics is influenced by their genetic predisposition to logical reasoning. Because biological determinisms assert that genetics play a crucial role in one's abilities, which applies to natural aptitudes in subjects like math. Number 70. This highlights how a teacher notices that the students raised in strict households tend to follow rules more rigidly compared to those lenient backgrounds. This observation aligns with which philosophical perspective? The correct answer is letter B, determinism, because this highlights how external factors such as upbringing determine behavioral tendencies. Number 71. A student is struggling with mathematics but makes an effort to practice daily, eventually improving their skills. This best illustrates which idea in the debate on freedom. The correct answer is letter C, that while external factors influence choices, individuals still have the capacity for self improvement. This reflects that the compatibilist view that free will exists alongside external influences. Number 72. A student plagiarized an essay but claims that peer pressure influenced their decision. Which philosophical stance best explains this reasoning? The correct answer is letter B, environmental determinism, because the student blames external influences for their decision, demonstrating environmental determinism. Number 73. A school enforces an honor code that states students are free to make their own choices, but they must accept that the consequences of their actions. This statement best reflects which view of freedom? The correct answer is letter C, compatibilism. The school's policy aligns with compatibilism, which states that freedom exists but comes with responsibility. Number 74. According to Aristotle, true happiness or eudaimonia is best achieved through which of the following? The correct answer is letter B, cultivating virtues and living a rational life. It's because that Aristotle believed happiness is achieved through virtue and rational living rather than material wealth or fame. Number 75. What do Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill emphasize in their concept of utilitarianism? The correct answer is letter C, that an action is right if it produces the greatest happiness for the greatest number. It's because that Bentham and Mill's utilitarianism focuses on maximizing overall happiness. Number 76. In a classroom setting, which of the following best represents the application of Aristotle's virtue ethics in promoting happiness? The correct answer is letter B. A teacher helps students develop responsibility and perseverance through character building activities. It's because Aristotle's virtue ethics promotes moral character development as essential to happiness. Number 77. Which of the following best demonstrates the utilitarian approach to education? The correct answer is letter C. Adopting policies that benefit the majority, such as flexible deadlines for students struggling with personal issues. It is because that adopting policies that benefit the majority, such as flexible deadlines for struggling students, is because utilitarianism values policies that maximize well being for majority. Number 78. A teacher integrates mindfulness practices such as breathing exercises and meditation in the classroom to help students manage stress. This approach aligns most closely with A. Aristotle's virtue ethics, B. Utilitarianism, C. The Buddhist perspective on happiness, or D. The modern psychological PERMA model. The correct answer is letter B, because positive psychology emphasizes engagement, relationship. Mindfulness, because mindfulness practices are deeply rooted in Buddhist teachings on inner peace and happiness. A teacher integrates mindfulness and practices. Number 79. In the in the concept of in the context of modern positive psychology, which of the following strategies would best foster student engagement and long-term well-being? The correct answer is letter B, designing classroom activities that incorporate meaning, relationships, and a sense of accomplishment. It is because positive psychology emphasizes engagement, relationships, and well-being to foster long-term success. Number 18. How does the PERMA model of positive psychology differ from Aristotle's concept of happiness? The correct answer is letter C. The PERMA model includes engagement, relationships, and meaning, whereas Aristotle focuses on virtue and rationality. It's correct because Aristotle's concept of happiness, or what we call eudaimonia, is rooted in virtue ethics, emphasizing rationality and moral character. While the PERMA model, introduced by Martin Seligman, broadens this perspective by incorporating engagement, positive relationships, meaning, and accomplishment to achieve well-being. Number 81. What does Heidegger's concept of being toward death suggest? The correct answer is letter B. Awareness of death should guide individuals to live meaningfully and authentically. It is because Heidegger's philosophy suggests that recognizing mortality compels with individuals to live with purpose. This existentialist idea encourages people to take responsibility for their lives rather than avoiding thoughts of death. Number 82. Why did Empiricus believe that people should not fear death? Correct. The answer is letter B, because when we are alive, death does not exist. And when we die, we cease to experience anything. So, it is because Epicurus argued that death should not be feared because it is simply the absence of sensation, since there is no experience of pain or suffering after death. It should not concern the living. Number 83. A teacher encourages students to set meaningful goals by asking, if you only had 1 year to live, what would you pursue? This classroom activity is rooted in which philosophical perspective? The answer is letter B, Heidegger's being toward death, which emphasizes living with purpose and authenticity. The question encourages students to reflect on meaningful goals, aligning with Heidegger's view that awareness of mortality fosters authenticity and purpose in life. 84. Which of the following statements reflects the Christian perspective on death? The correct answer is letter B. Death leads to resurrection and eternal life, which encourages moral responsibility. It's because Christianity views death as a transition to eternal life, reinforcing ethical behavior and faith in divine justice. Number 85. Which of the following best describes Saint Anselm's ontological argument for God's existence? The correct answer is letter C. The greatest conceivable being must exist in reality because a being that exists only in the mind is lesser than one that exists in reality. It's because Anselm's argument states that if God exists in our understanding as the greatest possible being, then he must also exist in reality. Otherwise, he would not be the greatest conceivable being. Number 86. As a philosophy teacher, what wants to introduce students to the cosmological argument for God's existence? Which classroom activity best aligns with this approach? The correct answer is letter C. Presenting the Big Bang Theory and discussing the necessity of an uncause first cause. It's because the cosmological argument associated with thinkers like Aquinas argues that everything has a cause, ultimately leading to an uncaused first cause, which is God. Discussing the Big Bang Theory can help illustrate this philosophical reasoning. Let's move on to number 7. A student argues that the complexity of human eye and its precise functionality point toward a deliberate designer. This reasoning is most closely associated with which philosophical argument for God's existence? It is the correct answer is letter C, theological argument. The theological argument on argument from design asserts that the complexity and order of the universe suggests an intelligent designer. The human eye's intricate functionality exemplify this idea. Number 88. According to Immanuel Kant, morals argument, why is the presence of a moral compass with human beings used as evidence for God's existence? The correct answer is letter B. Moral awareness and the sense of duty imply the presence of a higher lawgiver who instills these principles. It's because that Kant's argument suggests that morality implies the existence of a moral lawgiver, or God, as humans possess an innate sense of duty and justice beyond societal norms. Number 89. What does Filipino concept of pakikipagkapwa emphasize? A. Filipinos are highly individualistic and prioritize personal success above communal relationships. B. Every individual sees themselves as the interconnected with others, fostering a sense of shared identity and cooperation. C. Social hierarchy is rigid in force, discouraging interpersonal relationships between different societal classes. Or D. Filipino values self-reliance, independence, more interdependence within the community. The correct answer is letter B. Every individual sees themselves as interconnected with others, fostering a sense of shared identity and cooperation. It is because pakikipagkapwa reflects Filipino collectivist values, emphasizing mutual respect, empathy, and shared sense of humanity. Now to the last number, 19. In a discussion on Bayanihan, a teacher asked students to describe how this cultural value is still evident in modern Filipino society. Which of the following responses best illustrates the essence of Bayanihan? A. When Filipinos shows deep gratitude and reciprocate favors received from others, reinforcing strong relationships. B. During the times of calamity, Communities unite to provide relief, rebuild homes, and support affected individuals. C. Filipinos often hesitate to voice their opinion due to the fear of social disapproval embarrassment, or D. The practice of faith healing and devotion to religious as a way of seeking divine or intervention in daily life. Now, the correct answer is letter B, because the Bayanihan spirit embodies communal unity and cooperation, often seen in disaster relief efforts where Filipinos come together to help those in need. Now, thank you for watching. I hope you really learned in this review session now. Understanding these philosophical concepts enhances your ability to analyze educational scenarios critically. Keep practicing, learning, and apply these ideas to real life teaching situations. Good luck with your review, and I hope you will get a passing score or above on my exam in the future. Thank you, and God bless us all.